Welcome, Legionnaires, to the Long Live the Legion podcast, where we talk about the Legion of Superheroes comic book team and break subjects down so that whether you're just out of the Legion Academy or you're a longtime veteran, you get to know the team a little bit better. I'm your co-host, Jim.
And I'm your co-host, Jay.
And welcome to episode number 18. So what do we have on the mission monitor board for today?
We have a very special guest, and this is our big surprise that we kind of teased last episode. We are joined by the second most prolific Legion artist of all time, and the person who I believe holds the record for longest uninterrupted Legion run, Jeffrey Moy.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing well, thank you.
Perfect. All right. So Jim, since this is your reboot Legion that Jeff worked on, this is your favorite Legion. So I'm going to take a little bit of a backseat here because I know this is what you love. I'm going to jump in every once in a while, but I really wanted to give you the reins on this because this is your Legion.
Oh, good. I think what we should start, like any good comic book discussion, we need to have an origin story. So, Jeff, what's your issue 0?
I don't really know what my issue 0 was, but it was a time in my life when I was a kid and growing up, and my parents worked at their parents' restaurant. And then instead of having a babysitter, we would be taken and put into the office in the basement, and then given a box of comics, from the 1960s. And in there, you had your Superman, Batman, you had some Green Lantern, Fantastic Four, X-Men, a lot of the good Silver Age stuff, and then you also had Action Comics that had Superboy stories, and then they had the Legion superheroes in it. So that's pretty much my first exposure. Stories with, I think, where they got Mon-El and stuff. I'm trying to remember. The Space Stalag, when Jim Shooter was writing it. So that's right. Silver Age, if I correct.
Yeah, absolutely. The first time. Yeah, for the first time. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So, okay, cool. So, what was the best thing that you liked? So there's Legion and all the other stuff. What was the Legion your favorite of all that batch, or did you like any of the others more?
I mean, I did like the Legion stuff a lot because of all the characters, right, and the various stories, which kind of, it's like, Space Stalag is, Hogan's Heroes. So
absolutely.
I was watching Hogan's Heroes at the time. So that really kind of made a big impact on me. I remember Nardo, right, the guy with the 3 eyes, and which almost like Battlestar Galactica, almost kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Or that with the one alien in Star Wars, the Trandoshan, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then you just had characters, like Matter Eater Lad, it's like such a cool power, you can eat anything, eating his way out,
And he doesn't gain weight, which bugged the hell out of me.
Oh, right.
That was his superpower, the super metabolism. So he could eat whatever he wanted.
So he gave Bouncing Boy a run for his money.
Absolutely. So then when did you find that you had this aptitude to start drawing and doing illustrations and things like that?
I think in school, really, you're just kind of, and by that time actually I kind of gave up on reading comics because you just kind of grow out of it and you're not in that basement anymore. You're outside playing. And then then I guess getting back into like Doctor Who kind of led us to a comic store, and then we started finding comics again. The newer comics, like the John Byrne run of Fantastic Four, John Romita Jr. on Spider-Man, other books, X-Men, Paul Smith X-Men, stuff like that. So, I mean, that was actually a really good time to get back into comics.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But so picking up those comics, reading those stories, it's like, I used to read these characters as a kid and stuff like that. And then so I wasn't reading the Legion back then, but then I'd start, drawing in the margins of my notebook and stuff like that. And we had another friend that read. We were Marvel guys, my brother and I, Phil. We were Marvel guys, and then our friend was a DC guy. So lots of discussions of who was better and stuff.
Sure. The classic battles.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's when I started, drawing again. I think, And
then, and when you started drawing, what influenced you stylistically?
Back then, it was probably John Byrne was the biggest influence on me.
When we look at your work in the Legion, obviously, right, there's absolutely this kind of this manga influence, I'd say, right? That's what it looks like to me, anyway. That's
what it kind of evolves into. I mean, it's like so John Byrne was a big influence. I had that Marvel tryout book with John Romita Jr.'s work in there, so it's like I could look at his stuff. But John Byrne also he had a book that he had a book that lets you, he kind of broke down how he drew and how he would do his perspective grids and stuff like that, and his characters and all that. The John Buscema, he did that How to Draw the Marvel Way as well. So all that stuff was kind of influential on me. But then it's like when I was really kind of starting to draw and not just try to draw like John Byrne, it's like I kind of started to draw like Adam Hughes, because Adam Hughes was strongly becoming my favorite artist at the time. Sure. With his run on Maze Agency first, and then he graduated to Justice League. Great. Justice League America. Yeah. And so then it's like I want to draw like this guy, and so I'm just kind of trying to draw like him, and it's like, this is not working. So then and then at that time, it's like it started getting back into there was some anime on TV in the form of Robotech. Sure. And that kind of got
Star Blazers.
Yeah, Star Blazers was earlier, but it's like I could never get into that because of probably the serialized nature of it. Yeah, I just didn't know where we were. But Speed Racer for sure. It's like
absolutely.
Yeah. So anime started becoming a big influence, and then picking up art books from anime artists and stuff, and seeing how visual their storytelling is kind of added to my influence of Adam Hughes. And so it kind of lends that kind of more naturalistic feel to my work. So Adam Hughes and anime and manga.
So when you say like that visual storytelling element, you're really talking about how like action flows across a page or goes from one page to the next.
Well, not only that, I mean, not only their page layouts and stuff like that, it also comes across in the way that the characters express themselves, because they have the really big eyes. And then you could just tell, you're able to click in on what emotion they're feeling because of that. Yeah. And then it's also body posture, and then they're really good with doing body postures, maybe a little more exaggerated and stuff like that. But that also kind of serves to kind of immediately get people to tune in to, what the character's feeling.
Absolutely.
Just the next point of that. So at what point did you think, hey, this could be a job, or this could, like, I could actually get paid to draw these comics?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, at some point it's like you do have to decide on a career, what field you want to go into and stuff. And at the time, my parents owned we owned a Chinese restaurant, and I worked in there for the past, 10 years. So then it's time where it's like, let's try something else, see if we can do something else. And for some reason, my brother and I, we really wanted to get into, drawing comics. And I think that was in high school, junior, senior year of high school. It's like you really start to focus on drawing, and we did drawings of, in art class, we would do drawings of whatever the assignment was, but they always maybe had a comic book kind of influence in there and stuff. And our DC friend, he would, we actually worked on some, some comic books of our own, just little floppies of pages and stuff like that, drawing on ditto sheets and stuff. And we had a copier at home, so we published our own books.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's really cool.
Nice.
Fan fiction.
And now those photocopies are worth thousands and thousands.
No, I don't know if anyone else has them besides us. We might have given some to some other friends.
So then, how did you get into the whole DC Comics realm, or how did you get discovered by DC Comics? How did you come onto this path? Because you did a few things before actually starting Legionnaires. Yeah.
I mean, it's like so after high school, you go to university, and university. I was getting my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in illustration, and Mark Nelson, who drew the Alien series for Dark Horse, he was actually teaching there, so he was one of our teachers. And so, but after graduating, you got to keep sending out portfolio stuff, and we did. But it's like, I think the big thing is like kind of going to conventions and making contacts, connections, and stuff like that.
Good old-fashioned networking.
Yeah, networking. Networking is big, I think, in this industry. So it's like we started networking, and we got to be friends with the guys at Gaijin Studios, like Brian Stelfreeze, Adam Hughes, Cully Hamner, Jason Pearson, and Carl Story. He was kind of working with Adam on a bunch of stuff at the time, but then Carl Story, then he started working with Chris Sprouse on Legionnaires. So I guess Carl was also inking Jason Pearson on some of his Legion stuff as well. So that, I mean, that's the thing. So you make a connection there and you kind of keep in touch, you call, you talk on the phone a little bit. And then we always were doing kind of like fan art drawings of characters, Legion characters or whatever. And then we would kind of actually send a snail mail package of photocopies down to them and stuff. So I'm just kind of still kind of working here and there. I don't really have anything solid going on. I did some stuff for Kamiko on some of their horror titles, some of their sex specials as well. But then, and then one day it's like Carl Story is calling me up and he's like, "Hey, Chris and I are going to be leaving the Legion. You want me to put you in touch with the editor and give you a tryout?" I'm like,
okay,
wow, okay, sure. Because at the time, actually, Legionnaires was one of my favorite titles because it did bring back that Silver Age, characters that I knew.
Sure. And I guess this is about the time in the back of their mind, they're thinking about 0 Hour and they're going to reset everything, right? And then is that why they were leaving, or?
No, it's just, I think it was just kind of scheduling.
Okay.
Mainly. Because it's not to badmouth Chris, but I mean, I think Chris is totally aware that he's not the fastest artist. Because I mean, Chris,
and a lot of demand too.
Yeah. And Chris, and Chris is great, and and it's great that he has such friends like in the Gaijin guys that it's like they were helping out for like some of the, I don't know, like 10 pages of the book.
Yeah.
Carl put me in touch with his editor, Casey Carlson, at the time. And Casey gave me a couple tryouts. And it was kind of strange because normally they wanted to see sequential art and stuff like that. But Casey actually just asked for like some of the Legion superheroes fighting some bad guys or whatever. And then so I did a pinup where it's the Legion of superheroes fighting the Fatal Five. So there was like 10 or 12 characters on this pinup and stuff. Some in the foreground, some middle ground, some in the background. And then after that, I think Casey was impressed enough. And then he gave me a second tryout, which said, "Can you just do maybe like 1 or 2 characters?" I'm like, okay. So then I did a Brainy and Andromeda.
Awesome.
Because they're always a cute couple.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
So then after that, I got to fill in on Legionnaires number 15. And that was in the middle of a story, and I was helping finish up a storyline that was started, I think, in issue 10.
Right.
And then so after that, then it was the some of the work on the Legion Superheroes annual, and then the Legionnaires annual, and then that's when Casey offered me the job as regular penciler. But even then, at the time, I didn't realize that they were going to be rebooting the whole universe.
Oh wow! Yeah. Did they? I know tradition says that there was a big powwow of creators when they went to do this with like Casey and Mark Waid and all those guys. Were you and or Tom brought into that?
No, at the time I was not. I'm just an art monkey, really, because I'm really new to the industry. It's like I worked with Kamiko, and that wasn't necessarily the greatest experience, but but I mean, the editorial wise, it's like the guy that was running Kamiko wasn't necessarily the best guy to deal with, to do business with. It was more the business side, not the creative side. So I had no idea that it's like, oh, they're going to be rebooting everything. And then once Casey told me that they're going to restart the whole book and everything, I was like, can we keep the old costumes? Because I really like Chris Rouse's designs.
Right. Is that how we got to keep the Legionnaires designs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe Casey had that in mind as well, because I think at the time they didn't want to totally throw everything out that was working. I think Legionnaires was working as a fresh thing.
Sure. Yeah, I guess it had only been only a year and a half or something published at that point too. So if they change everything, then it's like a whole big reset, and people get confused. And
and that's why actually the issue 0 went back to like the other numbers as well, because it's like they didn't want to just end Legionnaires. They're happy to do that nowadays. It's like things can run a year, and then they'll reboot the book, and it'll start with a new number 1.
Yeah, I've noticed that they have like legacy number like 452, whatever, on the titles now. So okay,
or we have a new Batman number 1, and then at the same time there's like Detective Comics 1120 or whatever, and you're like, I don't get this. So
Yeah.
All right. So that's interesting because I've always wondered why they didn't reboot the numbers after that, because it just seemed like you'd be giving them a fresh start, but it was a different time and a different era. When you find out it's a reboot and they put you on, I mean, I guess it would be like you're taking over with this issue. So what kind of communication was going on between you? And in the beginning, it was McCraw and Wade, right, on the Legionnaires book?
McCraw, yeah, it was Tom McCraw, and then Mark Wade, and then Tom Pyre was also brought in.
Right. And so what kind of communication were they, how were they communicating their ideas? Or were you just getting the script, or were you part of like a monthly?
Like I said, I saw myself as just art monkey. At the time, I really was like that. I don't want to step on too many toes and stuff. Although I did kind of ask to see if it was okay to rewrite the ending of Legionnaires annual #1. There was something about the ending which I was like, oh, it might be kind of nicer, more emotional to do this kind of ending. And I honestly don't remember what the original ending was. I don't know if I had the old scripts anywhere or not.
I really enjoyed that issue. That was one of my first Legionnaires issues. Actually, I think I started with 23, I think, which is the Girls' Night Out type of issues, right?
Right.
And then when I got to that, I like this team. I got that particular issue next, the Arthurian story.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah, it was really nice that it was kind of pretty self-contained issue and everything like that. The Elseworlds. Yeah, I like a lot of the Elseworlds stories. They were pretty cool.
Absolutely. But then, so you're brought onto this, you're new guy on the title. But then, generally speaking, you're considered one of the co-creators of XS. So early on, you're designing characters from scratch now.
Right. Yeah. So they said they wanted to have this speedster. She'll be like half black and whatever. And so, yeah. So at the time, I was it's just like, okay, design a new character. You really don't think that you're creating anything really new.
Right.
It's like okay, you need this character for this thing. You don't know how long she's going to be around, or if they're going to be any major impact, or who they're related to and stuff like that. Because I just really kind of got a description, and she's a speedster. Okay, so yeah, so I kind of based her off of like Halle Berry's look from back then. She was like in The Last Boy Scout, I think. so I really liked her at the time, and then I was like, okay, I could go with the full suit, or have her kind of be more sporty and have the the running shorts and then whatever.
Yeah. Nice. That was very interesting that they started throwing this stuff at you immediately. So between that and you have, I guess at the time, Kinetics would have been the other big one, right? Because she has kind of a bland look, initially.
Yeah. Well, Kinetics was designed by Lee Motor.
Okay. Oh, Lee designed her originally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lee's her co-creator, even though I got to do so much with her because she was mainly in our book and she didn't travel to the past.
Right, right. And then she also changed a whole bunch of costumes like almost every other issue.
Yeah, and I think that's what they wanted to do with the character. She's constantly changing because she's kinetic. I see what you're doing.
A lot of these concepts, by the way, just as a free commercial for Jeff, you can get some of his sketchbooks online. So,
yeah, I do have to kind of get a better store going because right now all you can really do is kind of go on my Whatnot channel and purchase them there. Yeah. But if I get like a big cartel store or something like that, I think I'll try and put them up there.
Or see you at a con and you can buy them there too.
Yes, see me at a con, which I don't really go to a lot of them. So, if you're in the Chicago area, or Madison area, then I'll be around.
So then now we're going into, you're writing all these stories. You're a couple of years in. We get into some, pretty heavy stories, right? When we get into, in fact, I think our next episode on this podcast, we're going to be talking about the Daxamite War, right? That end of the first year, which is, I'm reading it. I'm new to the Legion. I was like, this is intense, and these are kids. You know what I mean? It's like, this is pretty intense stuff. And unfortunately, it's still pretty relevant today, too. What was it like being part of that whole experience?
It was pretty good. We could see what we were building up to and stuff like that while we were trying to introduce everyone to these new characters, which it's like they were still pretty much the old characters. We didn't really change their personalities up all that much, I don't believe. But the backstory with Andromeda and stuff like that, being part of the White Triangle, or at least recognizing it and not doing anything about it, then it leads to Triad getting severely injured and stuff. So, but there's kind of a redemption arc that you could do. So yeah, it was some heavy dramatic stuff, but it's like these are kids that want to take on the kind of responsibility and stuff. So
once you're a year in at this point, does the creative flow change at all? I mean, between you and Tom and Mark and everybody on the team?
No, to me, it's like, God, it's like, since I was so new to the industry, I really didn't really realize how things worked. So to me, it's like, oh, my job is art guy. So it's like, I'm just gonna draw. I'm professional, and I just draw whatever's put in front of me. I don't necessarily think about things all that much. So yeah, so we did have like a we did have like a Legion meeting, and the artists, all the creative team had like a couple days in New York at the DC offices to meet, and honestly, it's like, I was like, I'm not sure why I'm going, So, and it's there where it's like they'll ask us, it's like, you got any ideas for what kind of stories we could do, what kind of direction we could take some characters in and stuff. And honestly, I had nothing to offer because I didn't think about it, because I didn't think that was my job. But later on, it's like, I thought, oh my God, it would have been so cool to do this with this, this character and stuff. So
I imagine it would have been, yeah, I imagine it would have been tough, right? Because you're sitting there, you've got the 3 writers and you've got the editor, and you've got that established. I'm assuming you were working off full scripts, right? Like, it wasn't Marvel method. It was.
It wasn't Marvel. So, it wasn't like an outline. It was page by page, usually panel by panel. Sometimes they had the script there, sometimes they didn't, but usually they always provided enough information for me to know what they were talking about, so I could put emotion on the characters' faces. Because that's the thing. It's like, I worked from like a Marvel script, and I had no idea what the characters were talking about. So it's like, I didn't want them to be like too shocked or anything like that. So that was kind of a weird experience. I did that with Gen 13. I had a fill-in issue on there after Legionnaires. When I was working with Roger and Carmela, it's like they would actually kind of leave out the dialogue, and then they would, wait to see the pages, and then they would like get inspired by what expressions I drew on the characters' faces and stuff like that to write the dialogue.
Oh, that's interesting. And that was an interesting dynamic in and of itself, right? Because if I'm remembering, Carmela did most of the dialogue, and then Roger did like basically the story outline.
Yeah, I mean, there was a collaboration with them. I didn't quite know how that all worked out. So it was something that, that they were doing.
Yeah, I imagine it's, you finish drawing the pencils, or you're finished penciling, and you hand them off, and you go, it doesn't matter to me how this gets done, just that it gets done and the check's clear, right?
Right. And I can't really think and it. It's like, I've got 22 pages to draw every month. Yeah. It's like, I've got to keep to the schedule, probably like a page and a half a day. Otherwise, it's like it holds up the whole pipeline. And whenever I get called from KC, he's usually just wants to chat because he doesn't have to, it's like everything's on time, it's like everything's good. So he found it pretty relaxing talking to me.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. I think that might be one of the most underrated parts of your run, especially in the 90s when books were so delayed and so slow and so behind. And instead, you're just, we're getting these 22 pages a month. And I remember the first time kind of going back and doing the reread of your whole run. That was the big thing that, I mean, aside from how beautiful the books are, but it was always that, hey, he's delivering this. And I mean, I remember buying comics in that era where, you're crossing your fingers on some books, or some books you just know they're not going to hit this. I don't want to say what do you think made you so fast, but like, how do you think you were able to accomplish this? Like, what did you do differently, or what's different about maybe how you approach the page?
I mean, there was a way that we were taught how to draw in college. In illustration class and everything, and that was work up your thumbnail, then work up the bigger rough, and then retrace that rough, and then refine it and whatever. Yeah, you don't have time to do that when you're doing comics. So it was really just kind of drawing a rough thumbnail in my sketchbook, and then just kind of going onto the page, onto the board. Right. And then just starting to lay out the panels, and then just kind of blue line drawing, and then doing the pencil. Then it's like you just had to cut out that many steps, and just after a while of working that way, you just kind of become more efficient at doing it, relying on a really good inker.
I was going to say that. And then Corey Karani was basically your inker for most of the time, right?
Yeah. Him and I, we met in college, so So we were in the same illustration class.
Gotcha. And you're local, so were you able to just take the drawings over to his house, the pages over to his house?
You think that would have been the way, but back then it's actually lettering on the board.
Oh wow!
So the lettering actually had the pages. Once I was finished with them, I scanned them in, and then I don't know if Casey even. Yeah, I sent scans, faxes. I think we faxed them at the time.
Oh, wow.
But once I faxed them in and they were all okay to go, then it's like I had to box them up for FedEx, and then they would be shipped out to Vermont to Pat Brousseau.
Okay.
And then so it would go out there, Pat would letter them, and then they'd have to be shipped back to McHenry, Illinois. So
yeah, I had assumed that the lettering was the last part of the process. So that's good to know.
Nah. You want the lettering done first, because then, well, I mean, you could do the lettering afterwards and paste it up and stuff like that. But usually you want the lettering done first, and then that'll kind of cut down on the amount that the inker actually has.
That makes sense. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, because just imagine if you'd inked an entire page and then they're covering up half of your work. I think you'd be pretty pissed at that point in time.
No, I mean, not really. It's like, because as a penciler, it's like you have to allow at least a third of the page to be for word balloons. So either you leave the page, the background blank, or just put some stuff in there that really doesn't mean a lot, but
right.
But it places, the characters in a room or wherever they are.
And then where would KC come in from an editing perspective? Would he be more doing things on the front end with the script, or when would he be involved with like any of your product?
Well, I mean, he'd be making sure that everything's on schedule and stuff like that. And if I'm falling behind, then it's like he has to schedule. Like it's like, hey, we're gonna need like a fill-in issue, or we're gonna need a fill-in artist or something like that.
Right. Got it.
And, luckily, my brother Phil, he could kind of fill in that issue in that role. So
yeah, you guys have very similar styles. So yeah, that works.
Yeah,
well.
I mean, we were close enough, and then Corey inking him too. Then, although I think Phil might have inked some of his own stuff. I don't really remember. But with Corey inking, it's like you kind of have that continuity. Phil is actually more anime influenced than I am. In my work, but since we're drawing kids and stuff like that, there's that continuity there. So
as you're going through this, you've got a regular job. I'm assuming at a certain point you're feeling comfortable. You're like, okay, this is great. How are you feeling like artistically? Where do you think you developed the most as you were working on this book?
I think I developed most like in those first 2 years, probably. Because the stories were banger. It's like the art was getting better, my drawing ability, just because you have to, keep drawing and stuff, you just keep naturally getting better, in my opinion,
Yep.
Whether you can experiment or anything, you don't really have time to do it. So you just kind of do what feels natural. So, so it's like, so that became my natural style. And then, I think around, I like to think it's like issue 40 of Legionnaires with the Emerald Vi storyline was some of my favorite stuff. I was kind of bummed that it's like I didn't get to draw some of the Emerald Legion,
Yeah.
Like I did one panel with them, and then that was it. I was like, man.
Yeah, I guess Lee did most of that stuff, right? Because the only times that you were not illustrating the regular book, I think, were when you were doing the annuals. If you ever did an annual, right?
So I did do Legionnaires Annual number 2. Casey wanted me to do that one, so we had 2 fill-in issues. So we had one fill-in issue, I think, on issue 25, and then I think issue 27 and 28 were also fill-in issues because I was working on the Legionnaires Annual, and since that's 44 pages, double size, so.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so you mentioned Emerald Vi, because in Sketch Games, you mentioned this is one of your favorite stories, and you mentioned this here too. I got to ask because this is also at the time when you guys were doing the AOL chats,
right?
Which I remember fondly. Yeah, because you guys did a lot of setup to get ready for those moments there. So I know you're saying that you're the script guy or the drawing guy. You just give me the pages and I'll draw it. you saw a lot of the interaction with the fans being like, oh my gosh, Kinetics is going to be the Emerald Empress and all this other stuff, right? And then you go and you guys pull a fast one. Do you remember any of what was going on at the time between you guys on the writer staff and the illustrations? Because all this stuff has to be planned out like months in advance, right?
Right. I mean, we did plan on Kinetics having the eye,
Yeah.
And but even I don't remember if I did a sketch of Emerald Kinetics with the Emerald.
Yeah.
I called her the Emerald Princess.
Yes.
In my sketch games, and I don't remember if Casey asked me to do that or I just kind of did that on my own.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So
I had always wondered if that was going to be the byproduct of the whole thing with Emerald Vi for there was the lead in and then there was another whole year where you guys were just having this other whole plot. I didn't know if that was going to be the after effect of everything.
Well, I thought it might have been interesting so when Zoe gets the eye, she's actually using it for good.
Yeah.
And it slowly corrupts her or something like that. But yeah, the Legion fans were a bit too clever for us, so so we had to make a twist.
Yeah. I remember all that speculation back in the day in '95 or whenever that was. That was a lot of fun. What other stories that you remember were really kind of special to you when you were illustrating?
The Girls' Night Out story was a lot of fun, just because it's something that it happens in anime and manga. There's always kind of the beach story. I think I like a lot of the stuff with that we were doing with Kinetics at the time and her quest to find her power back.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of really good stuff there. You had Kinetics vanishing and Violet trying to find her, but then she gets the eye instead, but nobody knows it. And then she comes back, and then Violet disappears, and she's looking for Violet for however long that takes. And then there's the big encounter at the end, which was actually really kind of fantastic because I think that's the most characters I think I've ever seen in a Legion story altogether. At the big Mordru battle at the end, there were a lot of characters in that story.
Oh yeah, there were a lot.
That's when you're like, can't I get paid by the number of characters I'm drawing, not by the...
Nah, just like I said, you just put your head down and just get it done.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because it's like you think of those big battles, and that's always been a comment on the Legion for years. It's one of the hardest books to draw because there's so many characters and there's so many things to handle. I've seen interviews with Roger Stern where he said there were too many characters and I was getting overloaded. Did you find that for yourself? Did you were you happy when half of them went off to the 20th century?
No, because some of them I like to draw.
Yeah. So who were your favorites to draw, by the way?
Oh, it's the girls usually. It's like Spark. Yeah. Spark was always a favorite.
Yeah.
Just because she's got that spunky kind of attitude, and here's a picture that Adam Hughes did the Gossamer trading card, and he gave her really kind of a gymnast body because she had meat on her and everything, and she looked really cute. So that's why I kind of like to draw her kind of more petite, even though they're twins. It's like don't necessarily have to be identical twins.
We did establish on a previous episode that they are fraternal twins.
Yeah. Identical, they would look very much the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, was there any...
And both be the same sex.
Yeah.
Now, were there any characters that you wish you had drawn more often, or ones that you wish you had kind of been able to work on?
From what? From our run, or from? Yeah.
Well, yeah, since they'd split the teams up, you're only drawing a few, and then there was also a number of Legionnaires who never ended up in this reboot, anyways, or ended up in very, very different versions. Was there anybody that you're like, man, I would have loved to have had taken a crack at? I'm just picking a name at random, like Dawnstar, and you never kind of got to play. Was there somebody like that you wish you could have played with?
No, not really, because Dawnstar was during that time that I wasn't into Legion. So it's like anyone from the Silver Age I got to draw. And honestly, I drew the characters enough. And, as long as the story, is interesting, like I said, keeping my head down and drawing, it's like, and that's the thing with the Legion superheroes is that there's so many characters that I really didn't get bored,
Sure.
Like it's
understandable.
Because I talked one time with Mike Ringo, and I was like, how come you only stay on a book 6 months or a year or whatever? He's like, I got tired of drawing like, Spider-Man or Superman all the time. So I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I could see that, so. Yeah. And then another time, it was kind of funny. It's like I'm at San Diego Comic Con, and Chuck, I'm gonna butcher his name, Chuck Wozniak. He was doing Justice League, right? And then he's got a lot of characters to draw too, but he's walking by my table. He's like, "Ha, you gotta draw like a billion characters." Like, doesn't matter if you love to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's all good. So, all right, I'm now going to get into the slightly, I don't want to say more depressing part of the Legion run, but as we were,
so
yeah. So as your run was winding down, right, and you could see the writing was coming on the wall, like, or could you, like, was there a warning that dramatic changes were coming, or was it kind of like a surprise to the creative team as well?
I mean, probably in the last like 2 years, after Vi got back. Let's see, I'm trying to think of a specific time period. We did do something with like Brainiac 5's mom. That was with the Circle. I think probably around that time it was starting to maybe I kind of felt that maybe it's like we were kind of running out of ideas or.
I had heard that some man, I can't remember that the Dark Circle, that storyline was a recycled story. Is that true?
I honestly don't know, because I don't know if they existed previously.
Right.
But it just seemed kind of anticlimactic to me, because it's like we had 6 issues and then of the story or whatever. It's Brainiac 5's mom, and it's like, how do we take her out? Oh, Gates just kind of teleports in and knocks her out.
Well, it was a weird thing, right? Because I remember that in the big, I guess issue 100 of the main title, Evans had this short story that sets up this really kind of crazy sci-fi MacGuffin, and then it's all kind of turned into like a weird generator or something. I don't remember. It was
there was some stuff with that anomaly. There was a thing with the anomaly. Yeah. Honestly, I was like, I don't know what this is.
What are we doing here?
And I think even at that time, so for the first like 2 or 3 years, I did have a continuity contract.
Okay.
And that meant, it's like in order to get a certain amount of bonus, you're supposed to fill your quota of like, I think it was like you had to do like 12 out of 15 books, and then it became you had to do like 10 out of 13 or something like that. But I never had any problem meeting it. So
sure.
So it was kind of. Yeah, then they stopped offering it. So I was like, okay, maybe, But again, at the time, it's like I'm still in love with the Legion. I didn't really have any plans on going elsewhere. I heard there was like, I think Tony Harris told me one time, it's like I was considered for Starman, when he was leaving. Not sure what I would have done on that book. But and that's the thing. It's like I guess it's like artists are supposed to. Creative teams are supposed to move on or something like that. Or give the book maybe, a fresh look or fresh ideas and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I think probably like around that time, the Dark Circle, I was just kind of not phoning it in. I mean, I'd still do the work and try to make everything look good, but I just didn't know what the story was,
Yeah.
Okay. Was there like? Go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say, you weren't the only one. So there's a few of those issues that I was reading and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing here. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think as a reader, as a fan, we're reading these and sometimes we're like, does the creative team know? Or is because that's it. And yeah, I mean, I know, I don't want to get into all the numbers. Like I know sales were dropping as well at that same point in time. So you could tell that, DC was going to make a change. I guess that's the question of, as you can feel the run sort of ending, are you trying to position yourself to kind of keep going or find something else? Or have you kind of said like, I had 5 years and now I want a different challenge?
No, I mean, like I said, the past 2 years was just me, just trying to, just keep providing, good art and stuff.
Yeah.
I did think coming back to, it's like, oh, what would I have done and stuff like that. It's like, what could I have offered? It's like, I would have thought, I kind of wanted the Legionnaires book to be more kind of focused on separate Legionnaires. Like, this is the Legionnaire story, this Legionnaire. This is the story of this Legionnaire. And then, or maybe just doing something that's a little bit more world building. So we had this character, Lori Morning, who's the past. And I was like, why don't we use Lori Morning to like kind of visit all the planets of the United Planets, and then do some world building there, have an adventure, whatever, But I I don't think I ever offered that up. Because again, I'm not a writer. So maybe, had I said something sooner, it's like we could have gotten, something that was a little bit more interesting and, that kind of was more character based.
What's ironic that you say that, because the third thing that Abnett and Lanning did when they took over was world build. Like, they did an entire series of world buildings.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's probably something that needed to happen. So cool.
Right.
All right. I promise that's the last part of the depressing questions. We'll move on to something much more fun, which is you come back to the Legion and you get to combine Star Trek and the Legion. That must have been like high on the list of dream come true projects, or just things that were a blast to do.
Well, I mean, I got to work with the Star Trek property after Legionnaires. I did work with but it was Star Trek Voyager. So I did do a couple Star Trek Voyager books, which actually helped me land a job at Raven Software, working in video games, because my teacher from Northern Illinois University came up to Madison to go work there. And so when we would visit him, it's like we got the tour of the studio and everything, and hey, they were working on the Star Trek Voyager game and everything. And then Wildstorm just got the Star Trek property, so they were putting out these prestige format books, and I was the first one to do the Star Trek Voyager one, the first book that they released. And then they got tasked with doing a comic book adaptation for Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. And instead of getting a whole new art team or whatever, they're like, well, Jeff Moy and Corey Karania are already approved for Star Trek Voyager, so let's give it to them since it's a rush project. And then the video game was delayed, so it's like, I guess we could have had a little more time on it, but it still looked really good.
Nice.
So what do you mean when you say you guys were approved for Star Trek? Did you have to go through a vetting process or something?
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Because if you're doing, if you're drawing comic the characters, in a comic, it's like there are certain actors that have like a likeness kind of thing in their contract. Understood. And for Star Trek Voyager, it was Kate Mulgrew and Jerry Ryan, who played 7 and 9.
Sure.
So I did a bunch of, drawings based on, photos and stuff like that. And then, but, actually when you get down to drawing the comic, it's like, you just have to, find your, for me, it was finding my 7 and 9 and finding my Janeway, and, and all the rest of the characters too. And that's what it's kind of like on the Legion of Superheroes Star Trek book. So so I got that, and that was like in 2011, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I got laid off from Raven Software in like 2010. I was close to 10 years there, So, but it's like the downturn in the market and everything, and recession or whatever. It's like, hey, you're old.
yeah, in software too. Yeah, that's never fun.
Right. Yeah. Back then, there's like all these like colleges that are training people to work on video games, and they just had so many more technical skills than I did. It's like I was kind of more specialized, doing concepts and stuff like that. And I mean, they could have tried to train me, to do the more technical stuff, but
they could pay them cheaper.
Yes, they could pay them cheaper. So so then I got I don't remember if I got an email first. I got contacted by from Chris Ryle, who was over at IDW, or maybe it was Scott Dumbier. I don't know, one of those guys.
One of them.
Yeah, maybe it was Scott Dumbier. But so they had a script for crossover between the Legion of Superheroes and Star Trek. From what I understand, it's like there were some other art teams that like turned it down because either because it was a lower page rate than what I was getting at DC, years later, so, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll do it because Star Trek Legion Superheroes, and it's classic Star Trek, so
it's in your wheelhouse. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, the characters I was working with were they were all characters that I knew, but it's like it was going to be more of like the Grell era kind of feel. So I did draw them like a little bit older and stuff. And but no, that was a lot of fun, got Phil to ink it too. So
yeah. What was your favorite thing about that series when you were drawing the miniseries?
My favorite thing about drawing them was, coming up with all the amalgam of the two universes. Yeah, and I mean, because designing, it's like designing ships that took aspects from Star Trek the original series and the Legion of Superheroes, spaceships and stuff like that was fun. I mean, we did that whole kind of Fatal Five with the Star Trek aliens and characters.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, that was a lot of fun creating that. And actually, sadly, I mean, that's something that I was kind of hoping we were going to be doing more of, because on that book, it's like they sent me an outline of, what was going to happen and stuff. And I went over the outline and I thought, okay, that's cool and stuff. But I didn't think that would just be all of it.
Yeah.
I thought that we would have like the Legion is, our Legion of Superheroes and Star Trek characters fighting, amalgam versions of, all the other characters and stuff like that. But yeah, so I mean, that was a little disappointing, but it's like, it was still fun to create all that stuff and to have them play in that universe.
Yeah, and you had that cool spread I think it's towards the end of the story where it's like all those time machines and all that kind of stuff. I think that's the one that I'm remembering. With all the cool, the blanking on the character name, but
yeah. So it was Savage.
Yes, Randall Savage. Yeah, mm-hmm.
Or Flint.
yeah, on the Star Trek side. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at that page, there's one that's definitely missing. There's a time machine from Star Trek that's definitely missing, and that's
well. Actually, let me ask you about this, because this is when we talk about reading or looking at your images in Legionnaires, and this really pops out, especially on that spread of all the different time machines. You are famous for putting in lots of Easter eggs.
Yes, I do like my Easter eggs.
Is it more for entertainment value for your perspective? Just to say, hey, this would be cool to put in here.
Yeah. I mean, there was in the later issues of Legionnaires, it's like I usually try to keep them like more, maybe kind of more anime based or more kind of obscure stuff that I would know. I mean, that's a point of an Easter egg, right? I mean, so it's like we had this one issue where they were fighting a bunch of robots. It's kind of a single issue, yeah, where it's like some dude from the past, came to the future, and then he was gonna steal some future tech and go back in time or whatever. But no, what he did was he activated all these robots, in this robot museum, and I had stuff from like Doctor Who and whatever, anime and whatever. I think, threw in some Metal Men. So I mean, so that was some Easter eggs there. And then there was an issue where it's like they were in like Japan on Earth, and I decided it's like I'm gonna throw in the Macross, the super dimensional fortress Macross.
I need to go back and look, because I don't remember that.
It's there in the background, it's because it's huge.
It never jumped out to me before. Now I'm like, oh my god, because I'm a Robotech fan, so yeah.
Yeah. So it's sitting there, sitting there in Slake or whatever. Shot. But no, yeah. So doing all that time machine stuff, it's like, okay, what time machines are out there, So
yeah.
I think probably the most obscure, and there's some that I made up. We had the H.G. Wells Time Machine movie one. I don't know if I put the Time After Time one in there. Maybe. There's an obscure one where it's just like this. There was this show by Chris Elliott called Get a Life. And one episode he drank like time juice, and then they did the classic like comic book, rainbow in the years going by and stuff. So I had a bottle and I just called it time juice.
Okay.
I think this episode, this episode already has the most obscure, most obscure pulls of the.
But yeah, it's like, and I had, it's like I put in the Guardian of Forever, but I guess they didn't want to even mess with the Ellison Estates, so they just had me like paste over it or whatever, create some additional art, because I think on the original art it's on there.
I could have sworn I saw that there, but it was, it might be covered obscured by something else.
I turned it into like a pool. It's
okay.
I turned it into a time pool because the thing was huge. It's like the guy creates some art, so it's like, okay, it'll just be.
Of course, they end up using it in Discovery, many years later. But whatever. I stopped watching the modern Star Trek. And then the other thing, I guess, about from an Easter egg perspective, not really Easter eggs, but something you're known for, are the infamous tongues in the Legionnaires.
Yeah. That's mainly from anime and manga. Characters always kind of stick out their tongue to be cute or whatever.
Right. I remember I guess somebody did a commission by you where everybody's kind of sticking their tongues out, or that might have been just you.
Oh no, that was I guess Clordney, the fanzine Clordney.
Okay.
I think it was them.
Okay.
I could be wrong. But they asked me, it's like, hey, could I provide a cover for this or whatever? And so it's like
That's what that's from.
I just had them sticking out their tongues. So
Nice.
I think that's what they wanted. So
as we're kind of starting to wind down here, there's one question I definitely wanted to ask you, or kind of a two-part question. I guess first part is, would you do it again if you could? And the second part would be, would you go back if they were to like start a new Legion series? Would you ever go back to it?
God, it's such doing interior comic book work it's really grueling work.
Yeah.
It's like Corey always put it, it's like, yeah, we get to make our own schedules, pick whatever 16 hours of the day you want to work,
Yeah.
Because I mean, at that time, it's like, yeah, I was drawing from like, morning to night, having a meal and a nap here and there and stuff, watching a lot of Law and Order reruns. Nah, but yeah, it's like I'm too old to do anything like on a regular basis. But I mean, I do have a story I've been kicking around for like 20 or 30 years now, because it's been about 20 years, right? 20, 30, 90. Yep. So we left in 90.
25.
Yeah, so about 25 years. Yeah. So for 25 years, I've been kicking around this story and it's, it'd be a Legion of Super Pets story with kind of a reboot take on the Legion of Super Pets.
Okay.
And,
appropriate now, I guess, right?
Yeah. I don't know if they could do it, because it would take place during our time.
Okay.
And then you'd have a number of the Legion of Superheroes, going after Mantis Morlo, who's kind of a geneticist kind of guy.
Right.
They'll come across him and he'll zap them with, a genetic ray that turns them into animals. And you'd have a horse and a cat and a dog and a monkey, and then Prote's just Prote, because Prote's Prote. Yeah.
Yes. It was Garth. No, wait,
Spark would have been Streaky, and then
I love it.
But then I had, I was like, oh, we could have Censor there, and then we could have her turn human.
That would be funny. Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's like she doesn't know how to walk and stuff like that, and so. But then at the end of that story, we would just end it, and then after they capture them and turn them back, it's like I think it would just be interesting as a little note, just to have a Censor saying, "I want to explore what being human's like."
Right.
Should be human for a while.
That would be fun. I think that would be kind of a fun story.
Yeah. I just, I've got a really rough outline, and it could be like 2 issues. And I was thinking it's like, well, maybe Mark Waid might be interested in, writing something, because we were thinking, it's like Corey and I were thinking, kind of in honor of Casey. Casey passed away earlier this year. It's like do something, kind of in his honor that I think that he would have liked. So,
yeah, no, I love that idea.
Yeah, so we would do something like that, but just trying to find a time and and someone to write it.
Yeah,
because I'd like to kind of have it set up where because I remember it's like when they first were trying to get to the Fatal Five or whatever. Was it that issue? No, I'm blanking. No. So I mean, I remember it's like there were all these traps set for each Legionnaire specifically, and I'm pretty sure it was the one where they're going after the Fatal Five, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think so. I think that's the one.
Because I remember it was pretty sexy at the time, but I remember Shadowlass, she had to put her cape over her head. It's like, that was pretty sexy. To a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she, they just had all these bright lights, and then they had like Superboy being compressed in a thing.
Well, that was the Mordru.
Yeah.
Oh, was that?
Yeah.
Was it?
When they went back to, that was wasn't that Mordru? And it was, or am I misremembering my Silver Age comics, which is entirely possible. I just know that was the one where Shadowlass, like when they went back to Smallville and it was Shadowlass and Duo Damsel and Superboy. I could be completely wrong. So it's just, I'll just be quiet.
No, I mean, I'm trying to think of it too, because there's other
I've got the archives right over here. I could check really quick.
It's like right behind
and then you could edit this.
And as I say, every time this happens in one of our episodes, there's at least 20 people listening going, no, dum-dums, it's this issue.
Or diluted. We'll be deluged with email over the next week. All right. So, Jeff, you're actually, even though we had Chris Batista on with a crossover with the Men of Steel podcast a little bit ago, but you're actually our first actual guest with just for us. So one of the things we want to start doing as we get to the end of the episode here is do what we're going to call the lightning lad round. We're going to ask you 4 questions. Just shoot off the top of your head what your initial answer is, just to see what kind of stuff you're into. All right.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. So I promise it'll be harmless. So first thing, last comic book you read.
Oh my God, Jesus, that's hard to say. It's probably some issue of manga. It's a manga issue. Probably Free Run.
Okay.
Beyond Journey's End.
Okay, last TV show you watched.
Chainsaw? No, not Chainsaw. Don to Don.
Okay, very good. The last...
You probably want like American shows, right?
Oh,
nope.
No, honestly, it's whatever it was. Because honestly, Dawn to Dawn is, a lot of people are into it, right? I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and watch a lot of it yet, because it's on Netflix, right? I don't think I have Netflix.
Dawn to Dawn it is on Netflix. I have Crunchyroll, so I watch it on Crunchyroll.
Yeah. Okay. I had it for a while when I was catching up on the Star Blazers reboot, or the Yamato reboot that they did.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but then I stopped that subscription. So last thing you listened to, whether it was a podcast, song, whatever.
Probably a song. I mean, it's in my car. So what song was it? I honestly don't know. My memory is really crappy, I should tell you.
Especially if you're driving, right? Because the music just kind of flows over you. Unless it's something that irritates you, you're just... I find that, I can never remember what I'm listening to in my car unless it's something bad. And then I'm like... And then I have to immediately switch. So,
something good. So that's the good thing.
Yes.
I mean, I do have some music playing in the background right now.
Oh, there you go.
So, and that's Toto's Africa. So
nice.
Classic song, not the Fall Out Boy version, though. So.
No. Actually, the Weezer version, I was like,
or Weezer. That's what I meant. Weezer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, this just sounds the same. Couldn't they make it a little bit different?
No.
Well, I did hear that, the Porcaro brothers, I think that's the guys from Toto, they actually sent them all their synthesizer programs, and I'm like, well, why are you going to do that? Have them do their own take on it. But
right, at least different instruments, doing stuff.
Your last question is your favorite non-comic book author.
My favorite non-comic book author. I don't really read novels, so because I need pictures.
Yeah. Or you can say, or even comic book. We'll include comic book. How about that?
I mean, I still love the John Byrne run on Fantastic Four.
Okay,
but I mean, it's like probably Katsura Otomo.
Oh, nice.
His work on Akira. That he's also a big influence on my work as well.
Can I call out, since you just mentioned him, Domo? It never gets talked about. It is Jim. If you haven't checked this out,
I haven't yet.
It's so good.
I haven't read it in a while, but it's wasn't it like 2 issues or something like that?
Yeah, it's really short. It's kind of like a precursor to Akira, and Akira is just so brilliantly good, but this is a nice companion to check out. And I don't see it get talked about. An awesome call on that. He's so good. Did you
ever watch Memories? Memories is it was an anime based off of one of his kind of... He had a number of short stories and stuff, but they turned it into an anime with 3 parts. It was a movie, and it's Katsura Otomo's Memories, and I think it's actually streaming somewhere. You probably watch it on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or something. The first 2 stories, actually, it's it took me a while to get around to liking all 3 parts, because the last part, which was directed by Otomo, was just kind of long and ponderous. But the first two stories were really incredible. I mean, for animation, back in the 80s and whatever, it still stands up today, I believe.
Well, he fell into that horrible trap that so many people fall into when you get the freedom to do whatever you want and nobody's telling you to hey, maybe this is a little long, or hey, maybe you need to edit a little bit. You see it with everybody, and it's okay. But that's another great one too.
Self-indulgent, like a Snyder Rebel Moon or something like that.
So I think the funny thing is I think sometimes those are my favorite bits, when the guy gets self-indulgent and you're like, oh, okay, this is what happens. And sometimes it works, and then sometimes it's, if you if you're going to say Zack Snyder, I could say everything after Watchmen. It's the
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it's like, hey, I'm going to put my mark on everything, every shot and whatever. Yeah, it's Rebel Moon could have been good, but
Yeah. Oh my God.
I like the actress Sophia Boutella.
Yeah.
I really liked her in Star Trek Beyond as a character.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But and I like and she's got an interesting look. So, but yeah, it's like those movies just did not serve her.
But it's funny, you find her popping up like all kinds of places. I mean, she was in the last Mission Impossible movie too, right? And,
Was she?
Yeah. She's like everywhere.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater and I don't really remember it because
because we're talking about Bela, right? Or what was her name in Star Trek? The woman that had she was white with the black markings.
Right.
And
Sophia Boutella. Yeah.
Yep. She was in she was the French agent in the last Mission Impossible movie. So yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I'll have to watch that again.
and she
was in
what else? She was in Kingsman. She's been in
Kingsman.
lots of stuff.
She was in you want to see a lot of her, she was in Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde. Yeah,
that's right. I forgot about that too.
And wasn't she in the Tom Cruise Mummy movie? That I'm sure she was. She hadn't done, but it was.
I never saw that movie.
So I did, and it's
I hadn't seen it until maybe about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I
can go even worse.
I thought the last Star Trek movie, the Star Trek Beyond, I thought, it's like they were getting back to the roots of, what Star Trek was, kind of.
I agree.
At least character-wise, because the characters all felt closer to me from, like, the original series. So to me, Star Trek Beyond was very much a compromise, but, it was a good compromise in my mind.
Well, because it was Simon Pegg.
It was the last one that was like it was the first one of that series that was aligned to the original spirit of the show.
Yeah,
right?
the trio. You got Kirk, Spock, and Bones. And you got the Kirk and Bones dynamic going again. Kirk actually pretty much commanding a starship for a while, not running all around.
Exactly.
I mean, the action scene was good. He thought of, it's like, he's riding a motorbike, but he's actually concerned for his crew and everything, and doing stuff. So.
So, and I do have to make a correction. So, I was mistaken about Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. I was thinking of the character Paris, who was played by Pom Clementif, who was Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
So that's
right. Yeah,
that was.
She was in the last movie as well. She was in the
Dead Reckoning.
Yep. She had that kind of like majorette.
Yeah.
kind of jet.
Yeah.
And apparently, she was a voiceover in the Superman movie. She was one of the Superman robots.
She was one of the robots.
Yeah. She was the one that giggled. Oh, he looked at me.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping up. So, is there anything you want to bring up? Anything you want to sell? Talk about?
I mean, I'll talk about what I'm doing now, and that's
go ahead.
Perfect.
Kind of so there's an app on your phone or desktop called Whatnot, and you can find me there under Art Boy Moy. And what I do is I do commissions for sketch cards and 8x10s or sketch covers, or 9x12s and sketch covers. And those are on separate nights. So Tuesday nights are sketch card nights, and then usually a weekend day or Thursday or something around there is a larger commission show. So
nice.
And I'm doing more color because I've got the Copic markers.
Oh, nice.
And you can follow me on Instagram as well at ArtBoyMoy. So.
Okay, awesome. And then no Facebook or
I mean, I've got a Facebook page, but it's pretty much mirrors the Instagram. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, we keep on debating whether we should go back and set up a podcast site for us, but we're trying to, I don't know, stay away from the metaverse, as it were. But I don't know. You kind of have to do it. So
you do. I mean, I've got it. Should be posting more, but I just don't. So that's why my followers and and people following me is lower. So.
Right. Is your Patreon page ever going to come back, or are you pretty much focused on the?
No, I'm gonna kind of try and wrap that up and then turn it into maybe just a general kind of fund and just provide just drawings that I want to do every month. Nothing like
every telling you what to do.
Yeah, because it's like because I mean there's because I was mainly using Patreon as kind of a way to generate prints for conventions and stuff.
Gotcha.
And it's like nobody wants like a print of some kind of D tier character. So it's like I need a print of Wonder Woman. I need a print of these characters and stuff.
Popular characters.
Yeah. So that's once I get this month's stuff done, then I'll probably close it down and then like I said, relaunch it or something. But I have to just remind me that I have to pause collecting payment.
Well, you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, I mean, yeah, because it's like if I collect payment, then it's like, oh, I actually have to deliver stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm still working on that stuff.
Yeah,
working on the last month's rewards and stuff.
Thank you again to Jeff for joining us and spending an hour with us, or a little bit more than an hour, actually.
No, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. No, this is a blast. And so hopefully, maybe we get to do it again when the Legion starts coming back on a regular basis. So we'll see.
Yeah, they're around in some form, right? As the Dark Side Legion or whatever.
There's an evil Legion running around, causing problems. Absolutely. In fact, we're going to
what I'm really
about
hoping
that a little later. So yeah.
What I'm really hoping is we're going to get to do a podcast about the Legion of Super Pets special. That sounds awesome. That would be the best conversation to have coming up in the future. But yeah. Again, thanks so much. It was great to meet you. Great for you to spend your time with us, and I'm sure all the fans who are listening to as well. So make sure you check out. It's Artboy Moy. Yeah, make sure you check that out, and so we can. And we'll make sure we get that link on this podcast and on the YouTube page as well. So
cool.
Perfect.
So all right. So Jay, where can we find you online?
All right. So you can find me at Blue Sky at jmckiernan.bsky.social, and I would say, Jeff, if you're not on there yet, it's a pretty friendly place. There isn't the toxic trolls like another place that I won't name.
I understand that. It's just I've got so many things.
I understand. I understand. So
much bandwidth.
Exactly.
Also, I mean, I follow a bunch of stuff on Reddit as well, since everything's a time suck.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the black hole of Speaking of Reddit, you can find me on Reddit or at Discord at Drake Burrows, which I always say tells you who my favorite Legionnaire is. Jim, where can they find you online?
All right, well, I have my Legion Reviews website at jimboslegion.blogspot.com, where I try to post a comic a week that's somehow Legion related. Been a little bit flaky at that lately, but I did post a review of the newly released Superman number 30, which is the conclusion of the Legion of Darkseid storyline. So check that out. You can find me personally on Blue Sky at jimbofett.bsky.social, Reddit at jimbofett87, and on Discord as jimbofett on the Legion Fan Club Discord. If you want to follow the podcast or get access to the Legion Discord itself, we are at longlivethelegion.bsky.social, or send us an email and tell us what you think at longlivethelegion2025@gmail.com. So that'll wrap it up for today. Jay, what do we have for next time as a teaser?
I believe you already spoiled that. So we are going to be talking about the whole White Triangle storyline leading up to, it's what, Legionnaires Annual number 2, right?
Yep.
Yes. Because we are going to be focusing a lot on Phantom Girl apparition for the next couple of episodes. One of my favorite Legionnaires, and just a great, and I'm not just saying this to be nice to our guest, one of the best storylines, and she looked great on these issues, so looking forward to it.
Until I fried her to a crisp.
Yeah, I know. She looked great at the end, too.
She looked great until what you did to her, so, which was one of the first, I gotta be honest, it's one of the first Legion comics I read where I was literally like, what the crap? Because I did not expect that in the slightest, so.
Absolutely.
You definitely shocked me with that one. So, yeah, looking forward to that conversation next week.
We talked a lot.
Or next 2 weeks.
We talked about the online experience at that time because it was kind of nascent then. I remember I'm going to curse, I'm going to say people losing their shit when that happened online. So that was a lot of fun. So we'll get to revisit that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, again, thank you, Jeff. And until next time, long live the Legion.
Long live the Legion.
Long live the Legion.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.